Hello, welcome to another podcast editing chat by Podcast Editing Plus. I got it right. Yes, rebranding is difficult, folks. My name is Stephanie, and I am the host of Podcast Editing Plus, which is a newsletter, podcast, YouTube channel, and most likely the name of my business. We'll find out at the end of Napod Pomo if that's going to be true. But before I go into any of that, let's meet our wonderful podcast editors that are with us tonight. Mark, can you start us off?
Hello, yes, my name is Mark Spencer. I'm coming to you from the sunny South Pacific, from New Zealand, Aotearoa. I'm in Auckland, our biggest city, also known as Tamaki Makaurau, and it is 7 a.m. my time. So if you see me drinking coffee throughout, don't worry, that is coffee in my cup.
Thank you for joining us so stinking early. Jennifer, how about you?
Hey everybody, I'm Jennifer Navarrete and I am coming to you from Texas, and it is not 7 a.m., it is noon, but I am also drinking coffee because I drink coffee all day long.
Awesome, and this is why we connect. Jason.
I'm Jason, also known as Agent Palmer on the internet. I'm a blogger, podcaster, and editor. And I'm in Pennsylvania, and while it is 1 p.m., I'm also drinking coffee.
Okay, I'm over in Croatia, and it is just after 7 p.m., and there's no way I'm drinking coffee this late in the day. I actually forgot to have a beverage at all, so I'm, bad form. But we're going to do a quick 30-minute chat on just our process right now, what we've worked on this week, podcast editing-wise, what we've worked on this week, what challenges, what successes, what we've learned, and all that kind of stuff. We don't have to get to everything, but we're going to get to what we want to talk about and what is really brimming over in our heads. So, I guess the first thing is what have we been working on this week? Should we go reverse clock or clockwise? Jason, what have you been working on podcast editing wise this week?
Well, I have an episode coming out tomorrow, so for me, it's all about editing my intro and outro, which I do, after the fact. So, it's probably the worst part of editing for me. If I'm gonna be honest, is just me. I've done a few solo episodes; those are also horrible. From an editing standpoint, I don't mind getting lost in a conversation, which is usually what I'm doing, or even. There's a show I've been editing, the Good Government Show, and that's kind of NPR-ish. It's a conversation and interspersed clips from other things. Those I'm fine with, but when I sit down, even though it might only be a total of 5 minutes, 2 for the in, 2 for the out, I hate editing solo me. But we do it. I mean, I like the format of my show. It's part of the format. Can't really get away from it. But when I just sit down and there's just one waveform, just me, it's like, oh, okay, all right. So that's what I have been working on this week.
Wow. And what do you do to get past not liking that part of it? How do you push through it?
I realize that I've come a long way. 6-7 years ago, whenever I had my first guest spot on somebody else's show, right? And it was a long form conversation podcast. I think the episode was like 2 hours. It took me all day to listen to a 2-hour episode because I did not like the sound of my own voice. It was the first time I was out there, right? And I listened for 5 or 10 minutes and then pause and go away, whatever. And now, as part of my process, I re-listen to the edited conversation before I do my ins and outs, and I can listen to it straight through, even though it's half me, right? So I've come a long way, and it's just part of what you have to do. Like unless you're gonna, be like, all right, yeah, this is my show, but somebody else is going to be the announcer. It's on you, and I think that gets you over a lot of humps because you don't have a choice. Like there's no. Hey, Mark, hey, Jennifer, do you want to record my intro for me? Like, that's a lot. And, it's more moving pieces. So it's like, this is on me.
Yeah.
Okay. let's go.
Well, that brings up a really good question. Jennifer and Mark, or Jennifer, is there a specific part of the podcast editing process that you hate more than others? Or dislike? We don't have to go to all the way to hate.
I think I'm not a fan of when a show is longer than it needs to be, and I'm on the editing side of it, because sometimes I'm working with clients and they are the host and they're interviewing guests, and it goes way too long. Like the guest meanders in 50 different directions, and the host is trying to pull them back. And I know right away, I'm like, this is going to be a bear. This is going to be a bear to edit, and I will have been working on it for an hour to try and really clean it up, and it'll be like 3 minutes of final product, and I'm like, oh. So it's a real challenge when you've got guests who meander and hosts who may or may not be really skilled at bringing them back. The longer that I work with hosts, though, the more that they understand why we need to cut and edit, and actually the more skilled they get at nuancing that. So I think it's that first initial phase of learning one another that really takes the most time. And then once you've been working with someone for a while, then all of a sudden you guys automatically have the second nature. And that to me is a really sweet spot when working with clients.
That's a really good point. And a lot of people think if you cut something out, that the guest is going to remember they said it and be really insulted. And most people don't remember what they've said.
Well, and you're trying to make a clean, tight story.
Exactly.
And I think knowing that you're going to edit, the key here is in the beginning is that prep process. And what I, as the producer, tell the guest before the host even joins in my prep process is, we're going to get a lot of questions asked. We may not have time for all of them to be answered. Or if you answered part of question 3 in question 2, we're not going to ask you question 3. We're going to go around or skip or ask something else, but it's all going to be within the same vein, because the goal that the host has is to make them shine. Make that guest shine. And our, goal as the editors is to do the same, make everyone shine.
Exactly. Mark, how about you? What is the thing you dislike the most in editing?
Yeah, I definitely, I'm not sure if anything rises to the level of hate with podcasting. I'm still like, I'm the dog who caught the car. Like I just was a podcast listener and fan since I was an early teen, and I moved on from audiobooks to podcasts as soon as I found them. And I'm still like just pinching myself to be working on something that people listen to. It's still the love is still there. But, I got some pet peeves, sure. And what Jennifer said is right there in the sweet spot for me, where I'll get to the end of an edit for something and put in that sort of 3 to 4 times the runtime of the piece, that the golden ratio of editing, and then be like, oh yeah, I do need to find 10, 15, 20 minutes to cut from this hour. And it's hard, right? Like, as you say, you want to maintain the structure, but prune back a lot. And it's like trying to make a pathway through a hedge. You don't want to trim so much that the thing falls on you halfway through or has jagged edges sticking out. It needs to maintain a cohesive narrative while having all these sort of cul-de-sacs and empty doors closed behind you. So it's definitely a unique challenge, and it's not a technical challenge, is it? It's a content editing process. So for me, like I've started to rely on Descript a lot for situations like that, where I just don't have to look at waveforms and sort of cut tape digitally anymore. The idea of working with a Word document and you're actually crafting words is just, I get it, and it's way more enjoyable for me having to do that. But definitely my biggest challenge in editing is a content reduction edit. It's heavy.
I'm thinking that whole Descript editing from text and then touching the audio could be its own episode. So I'm debating, do we go there? Do we not go there? That might have to be its own special thing.
Get Andrew Mason on, get the Descript team on to pitch you on the pros.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. Challenges. Any specific challenges that came up this week, Jennifer, that haven't come up before? Like any new walls, or not even walls, just new things that came up that, I think that's the end of the sentence. Any new challenges?
Yeah. So for National Podcast Post Month, which happens every November, we're at the 15-day mark, right? We're at the halfway point. And for the very first time ever, I have really gone all in on the concept of a micro podcast, not a micro podcast where I'm just talking into a mobile app and doing 3 minutes on Chirp, right? Because that's the max you can do on Chirp. It's not that kind of micro, it's like really produced podcast. So you've got the intro music and you've got it's just me speaking. And I wind up writing the script, and the script is like this long, but it's a micro podcast, which is typically 1 to 3 minutes. And on one episode, I went to 5 minutes, and I was like biting my nails because it was so long. But that's been really hard. I have where I write all the scripts that I wrote and getting prepared in advance before I hit record. I actually have a section called the cut, because I wind up writing so much about this topic, and I'm writing about social media and the blockchain, which is a complicated topic. And I'm trying to baby step everyone. The cool thing about NaPod Pomo is you have 30 days to do this. So I'm trying to just do one little nugget every day, but learning how to really cut myself and really keep it very tight so that people don't get lost, because I'm broaching a topic that is very misunderstood and a little scary. So that's been really tough for me, but I'm halfway, I'm at the tonight I'll record the 15th episode. And I feel like I may finally, excuse me, be getting a handle on it. But it's still something I'm struggling with, because there's so much to say, but how do you not overwhelm your audience, your listeners? And so it's really been me pulling myself back and really just hacking. You talked about cutting. I'm with a machete on my on my stuff, hacking away, because there's so much good stuff, but does it confuse them? Is it too much? Are we not ready for that yet? I haven't even talked about this part yet. How can I mention it here, even though it's a part of it? So that for me has been a real challenge, but I think it's also a really great challenge.
I'm floored that you're doing a micro podcast on blockchain. That I
It's
feel like
being
you could take-
released on the blockchain. I mean, that's where it's being published, is on the blockchain too. So
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Are you finding that the stuff that you take out, you're putting into the next day's episode?
I think I will, and I don't always. Maybe a sentence or like a phrase or a thought. I'm like, oh yeah, I mentioned this here. You know what? Let me rephrase that in the context here. It's a big, huge exercise for me, something I've never done before. You know me, Steph, I like to talk, and I'm doing that right now. And so editing myself and keeping myself tight is like I'm Twitterizing myself. That's what I'm doing.
Oh, yes. Okay. Mark, what about you? Any new challenges this week that you haven't encountered before?
Yeah, so it's not a new challenge I haven't experienced before, but it's with a client for the first time. So it's a new challenge with this client. And we're halfway through the first season I've worked on with them. This is their second season though, and the first season the two hosts were editing and producing themselves. So it's been really good joining them for the second season, because they get an appreciation of all the things they don't have to do, but they have an understanding of how much work that is and what that process is like. And, I'll come along, and because I can do something quickly or confidently, because I've been doing it for a few years, they're just blown away and grateful. And I'm like, oh, it's nothing. It's fine. So it's a really good dynamic. And, it'll maybe be some advice in a later section of like, be comfortable with upskilling your clients to do more of themselves if they can, because then they have an appreciation of you as the editor more and more. But the problem this week is we had quite an important episode. This season has a sponsor attached, and as part of that sponsorship, there was an episode with the in this case a large power company, and we had like the customer success person and like the person in charge of all their actual energy generation on a recording session. And there was going to be a lot of cutting because they were new to podcasts. But then one of the hosts, the internet connection just kind of failed. And we had, even with Riverside and all these, great new recording tools we got these days, they kind of try to protect, even if you've got a bad connection, there's backups and everything. Even the backup failed. So I love Riverside, not to throw them under the bus at all, but it just didn't work this time for whatever reason. So the host had to re-record their end. And you know what it's like having to like sit in a room by yourself and re-record the questions you asked and the laughs you made and kind of hit the same tone and the same energy, recreate something. And they did a great job. And, it would have been awkward had they not had an appreciation of having to do it themselves in season one without direction, without exact timestamps of, hey, here's the thing, and I think this is the question you should ask, judging from this answer we got, and like sort of helping them sculpt what was needed. It's kind of like, here's a puzzle. I'm going to take away a few pieces, and I'm not asking you just to come up with brand new pieces that fit. It's like, let's look at the surrounding image and decide what we want to put back in. So it was a challenge, but it came out really well, and it was actually fun. So it's nice when a challenge becomes like a puzzle to solve, and it feels good when you finish it.
Yeah. Is it possible with that client to record locally just in case this ever happens again?
Yeah, absolutely. And in hindsight, that would have been absolutely fine. I've never had this issue with a remote recording tool before. At least this
Yeah.
new breed of the current generation, which usually tend to be really good. So
Yeah.
I'm going to blame Australian internet. Had like a catastrophic day, I guess.
Oh no, it happens. It happens. And sometimes I do have a guest that on my own podcast that isn't super comfortable with technology, and I won't bother with the local. I'll just really pray that the cloud one works okay, because I don't want to press people to the point where they don't want to come on. So it just really, really depends. All right, Jason, what challenges what challenge have you had this week that you haven't had before?
It's a recurring one, but like so much so that it's not recurring enough that I need to make a note for myself. Like I'm one of those perfectionists where I've somewhere on a notepad, I have perfection is the enemy of good. Just so I can remind myself. And the problem that comes up is, I need to ignore my eyes when editing. And it doesn't come up often enough that I need to write it down to remind myself. But there are times when I go, just close your eyes and listen and see what it sounds like, because we pay so much attention, especially like regardless of the DAW you're using, we're looking at the form, and it's also a cheap way to get closer to that. Sometimes if I'm really like, either the episode just happened to be easy or what, I like can get to the 2-to-1 ratio, which I find is like the perfect ratio. But like you're going along and you go, all right, I want to cut out this and I can see where it starts and I can see where it stops. But there are just times where like don't look at it, just listen. And I know it's hard to go back and edit it, but you need to just hear it, because in the end, and this is the thing I don't remind myself of, but I kind of we all kind of know, the end user doesn't see the waveform, right? Like they don't, like that's there for us. We see it when we're doing the thing, but like if there's a if your person takes a dramatic pause and has an up breath into whatever they're saying, you cannot just cut out a little bit of that pause. You have to cut out a certain piece of that pause so it's not like a weird breath going on. And that will and looking at the waveform will trick you every time.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen often enough. Again, I mean, of my own show, I'm on 50 some episodes. Of other people's shows, it's much more, but it comes up maybe once every 25 episodes or something like that. So it's not a whole lot, but it's like, oh, okay, all right, hold on. No, sounds good. Like it, or whatever. Like but that's the one, and it kind of jumps up and bites you every so often. Like, oh, don't. Your eyes can deceive you. Just listen to your ears.
Yeah, it's so hard, especially when the waveform's big. It's big. I don't care what DAW you're on. It's big and it's gorgeous and it's moving and it's like, oh, moving thing. I need to look at it all the time. There was a moment when I actually tried taking like a kitchen timer, walking across the room and doing something else and just writing down the timestamps of places where I wanted to go edit. And for some reason, I stopped doing that. And now I'm kind of back to being too visual of an editor too. Yeah.
But don't you see the thing? And I used to do this. The thing I hate about timestamps is you have to edit backwards, because otherwise you're messing up all your other timestamps. And I did for a few like projects or whatever, I did do it that way. And I just got so frustrated because you lose the flow of like, oh, I didn't have an edit for 15 minutes, so I don't know what's going on in that 15 minutes. And do I trust my memory? How is that? And so that part of the editing, like editing backwards, like it's great for like a second pass or something. But yeah.
Very true. Very true. All of these points are like porcupine pain points for me. Different points depending on what I'm editing. I want to say a quick hello to Rook's Corner, who's not surprised, Jason, that you're having coffee because you're a busy guy.
Yep.
And also to AB, who was with us last Monday. And that's a good, actually, moment to say that we're doing these live podcast editor chats every Monday in November, as ironically and very metally, let's pretend that's a word, part of National Podcast Posting Month for Podcast Editing Plus. And Jennifer, you're the founder of NaPodPoMo. Can you briefly explain what that's about?
30 podcast episodes in 30 days. It's a challenge for new podcasters to fail fast, get good. It's a challenge for experienced podcasters to experiment and feel the freedom to do so in a safe community space.
Yep. You've been saying that for many years, haven't you?
Well,
Is it
I
over
want
a
to
decade?
condense it down.
Yeah. All right. So my favorite question is what we've learned this week that we obviously didn't know before. So I'm going to just throw this one out. Who has something that they learned? It can be digital or it can be technical or non-technical, but something you learned that helped you with your podcast editing that's new.
I'll go first. It's actually a progression of sorts.
Mhm.
I am a big believer in using things that work, maybe tweaking them here and there, but using things that work. And I have all of my intros and outros drafted in one document. So that way, on my podcast, I usually promote my Twitter. And that's the one social media that I focus on. So that's the one I do. And then I go, oh, wait, this guest doesn't have a Twitter. How did I handle that the last time a guest didn't? So I don't have to recreate the wheel every time. And one of the things about that document is as I go back when things like this happen, or, so-and-so had a YouTube. Did I read out the URL? How did I do that? Going back and seeing those things, I realize that I've really kind of doubled down on trying to let my conversation, whatever it is, because it is just natural conversation, explain the person instead of doing an upfront 5-minute micro bio, which when I go back to those first few episodes, that's the thing that's changed the most it's my show and I have 100% control over it. And yet I've transformed into hi, we're going to talk to Stephanie. She's, Podcast Editing Plus, and you're about to hear this. Whereas when I go back and look at those other ones, I probably, it's a ton of stuff, and it just happened naturally. And I think I need to take more time to look backward, because I don't think any of us do it enough. We're always just so go to the next thing. And so that's one of those things I've learned where it's like, you know what? While the format's the same, cold open, music, intro, music, conversation, mute, like the beats are all the same, but there's a lot that's still changed. And you need to take the time to look behind you occasionally, not all the time, but occasionally. And so that's one thing I learned, is that I've changed without trying. Like it wasn't a conscious decision. Like it just happened.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's one of the reasons I like NaPodPoMo, is that it goes so fast that I find I have to look at the day before to remember to kind of piece it all together day by day. And that makes me change the show notes, and it makes me change the intro, and it makes me change things pretty quickly, because I just did it yesterday and I still remember what I didn't like about it. So I'm like, change. And it's fun. It's fun. Mark, what about you?
Oh, I've learned this week I need to do NaPodPoMo next month. 'Cause I can't be on the call with you, Jennifer, and not commit to doing it next year. I feel embarrassed about doing it this year.
I love it.
Well, like I'm one of these people that I fire up Anchor, and when I'm going for a walk, I'll just kind of record some thoughts and publish some stuff. So like And I like the thought of maybe doing something a bit more polished next year in like a burst fiction style rather than a stream of consciousness off the top. Just the joy of putting out something unedited, which is a nice breather sometimes. Definitely what I learned this week is actually from watching the first session, and hi to AB, he's tuning back in. And it was actually from Jason's question when he was watching last week to get very meta. And that is like how can you edit on 2x speed? And I don't. I edit on 1.8 times speed. That's as high as I can get for just a couple clients. And it really helps me actually bring down that ratio close to like 1-to-1 when I'm doing second passes. So some of my clients are at the point now, because I've worked with them to train them up, they'll do their rough cut. They'll go through and kind of do their kind of the content edit, take out the stuff they didn't want, and I'll go through, and after doing some leveling, after doing some audio treatment, I'll then just clean up a lot of their transitions. Some of my guests, like myself, some of my clients, they don't know where to find the question mark in the question. So like, yeah, here it is. You finished it, and I'm going to cut the trailing 2 or 3 sentences where you're like, did I say it right? Is that all set up for you? And just having a nice, clean, crisp, now to the guest, and starting past that's a good question and all that. And I can do that now at 1.8 speed, super quick. The guests as well are largely, they're Australian. They tend to be like farmers and people in agriculture. They're more laconic. They do speak slower. So 1.8 speed is actually like, it brings it up to me to like a city normal.
Yeah.
It's an absolute cheat. But it is possible. I do it, and I'd highly recommend people give it a try for the right type of content, because it does feel so liberating to look at the clock and see that you're moving at the same speed as the actual tape you're editing. Because most of the time we know it's a time vortex.
This is so funny. I normally resist going higher than regular speed because my brain just doesn't work that way. But I've been editing more stuff with a lot of people from Georgia, which is a slower paced talk. And this week I was like, okay, I'm going to try this again. And I went up to like 1.6, 1.7, which is really fast for me. And I was like, this is okay. This is okay. So I think it does depend on who you're editing. I don't think I could ever do myself higher than regular, because I'm sort of a runaway train as is.
I won't do accents, but if it was like, a guest from New York City, it might be a bit different.
Oh, yeah. Jennifer, what's one thing you learned this week?
I think for me, it's not to do all the things in reference to trying to give information. I'm someone who has a tendency to overwhelm because I've got 20 things going on or more. And so I will, do kind of the fire hose approach. And typically when you do the fire hose approach, people, get the blank look and maybe even a fearful look, and then they go in the opposite direction. And it isn't because the information wasn't great. It's because it was they were overwhelmed by it. And if people are overwhelmed, they opt to not be part of that conversation or not lean into it. So doing this slowly and measured has been a real challenge, but it's also helping me understand that I don't have to share all the things in one go, that it's okay to piece it out. And it's interesting. I had feedback from a listener who said, why haven't, you're being very broad and very vague about these concepts. Why? And this is someone who knows about the blockchain. Why haven't you mentioned the one that you're talking about? And why haven't you mentioned it? I'm like, I have to baby step folks, because when I tell them all the things, they don't stick around. And I actually have had feedback from others who are like, I really like how you're taking us slow. And I'm like, oh God, I really want to go fast. So for me, the big thing is going contrary to my nature, but yet I'm doing a better service to my listeners. And in that way, it's also very gratifying.
It's hard to break stuff down, especially if it's your water and it's what you're very familiar with and what you can do very quickly. It's very hard to backtrack and view it with those beginner eyes and then make it for beginner ears. So my hat goes off to you for that. I like that, beginner ears.
Write that down.
I'm going to write that down right now. Beginner ears. I think we've got our title. All right. Man, oh man, half hour goes so insanely fast. Let's leave folks with, if possible, one central place they can find us. Mark, can you start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a bunch of stuff around the internet. I work at one of the big podcast hosting companies during the day as a support rep. So I'm around the neck of the woods, but heremedia.studio is a good curation of everything I do and my editing. And that's here, like HERE.
Right. Jennifer?
The best place to find me is Twitter. And I am twitter.com/epodcaster. And the reason I send you there is because if you go to my profile, you will see a link, because Twitter allows you one link, and it's my link tree. And then there you can see all the things.
Nice. Jason?
I'm going to go with my website, because if you go to agentpalmer.com, you can find the podcast and you can find my Twitter. And, I always like to be the contrarian. So in a podcast editing circle, I like to be like, hey, I'm a blogger too. And in fairness, in blog circles, I'm like, hey, I'm a podcaster too. Like that's always going to be my shtick. So.
Fun. Okay, and this is going to be turned into a podcast episode as well as it exists in the NaPodPoMo YouTube playlist that we'll have on this site. And just to remind you one more time. Well, no, wait. I have to say thank you again to the folks at Rook's Corner. Jason, who's at Rook's Corner? What name should we say?
I just call him Rook. He's got a history podcast. Yeah.
Awesome. So. Thanks to Rook, AB, the podcast father, and that's it. Yeah, for joining us in the chat room. And Podcast Editing Plus is a newsletter that's normally every 2 weeks, but because of NaPodPoMo, it's on hiatus this month. We're also
sorry, folks.
Oh no, they're probably Anyway, it's normally a newsletter that's over on Substack, which is also where we're hosting the NaPodPoMo podcast feed, as well as the regular feed, as long as it keeps working. I don't know. It's an experiment to host the podcast over on Substack, and then this YouTube channel, then the YouTube channel, and Twitter and Instagram. That's not even remotely one place. I broke my own rule. Sorry, I get carried away. I remembered it all. Thank you so much, Jennifer, Jason, and Mark, for showing up for this super high speed what you did this week in podcast editing.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for everything you do in the community, Steph. Probably you don't get thanked enough for PodRev Day and everything you do.
Yeah, Steph, you rock.
Yeah,
Aww,
thanks, Steph.
You're all the best. All right, we're out. Bye-bye. Happy to be here. Palmer is coffee.